Jnanakosha, Puranas, Introduction.
Sargascha pratisargascha vamsho manvantaraani cha vamshanucharitanchaiva Puranam panchalakshanam.
Vishnu Purana, Part 3. Description of Manvantaras. Maitreya says, O Gurudev, now I wish to hear the description of all the Manvantaras and the Manus who ruled those Manvantaras. Parasar says, first Manu was self-begotten. After him 5 more Manus occurred, namely Swarochi, Uttama, Tamas, Raivat and Chakshush. All these Manus had occurred during the previous ages. The present Manu Vaivaswant is the son of the sun, and this Manvantara is 7th. In the Swarochi Manvantara, Parvat and Tushtiganas were the gods. Vipashit was Indra, Urja, Stambha, Prana, Vat, Vrishab, Nitya and Parivan were the Saptarishis. Chaitra and Kimpurusha were the sons of Manu. Uttama was the Manu in Uttam Manvantara. Shushanti was Indra with Sudhama, Satya, Jaya, Pradhana and Vashravarati were his ganas. 7 sons of Vasishta were Saptarishis. In Tamas Manvantara, there were 4 categories of the gods, namely Super, Hari, Satya and Sudhi. Each of them had 27 gods. Each king Shivi was Indra during that Manvantara. Jyotirdhama, Prithu, Katya, Chaitra, Agni, Vanak and Parveer were Saptarishis. During Raivat Manvantara, Vibhu was Indra. There were 4 categories of the gods, namely Amitabh, Bhurad, Vaikunth and Sumedha, with 14 gods each. Hiranya Roma, Vedashri, Urdha Vabhu, Vedabhu, Sudhama, Paranjanya, Mahamuni were the Saptarishis. 4 Manu, Swaroshich, Uttam, Tamas and Raivat are said to be the direct descendant of King Priyavrata. During Chakshusu Manvantara, Indra's name was Manoja, Apaya, Prasut, Bhavya, Prithuk and Lekh were the categories of gods, each with 8 deities. Sumedha, Viraja, Havishwaman, Uttam, Madhu, Atinama and Shahishnu were the Saptarishis. During the present Manvantara, the sun's brilliant son Shraddha is Manu. Aditya, Vasu and Rudra are the categories of gods. Indra's name is Purandara. Vasistha, Kashyapa, Atri, Jamadagni, Gautam, Vishwamitra and Bharadwaj are the Saptarishis. Present Manu has 9 sons: Ikshvaku, Nrig, Drisht, Shaharayati, Narishyati, Nabhag, Arisht, Karush and Prishadhara. Birth of Sarvani Manu and next Manvantaras. Maitreyi says, O sage, kindly narrate about the future Manvantaras that are to come. Parashar says, Vishwakarma's daughter Sangya was the wife of Surya. They had 3 children, Manu, Yama and Yamani. Sangya once felt unable to bear the radiance of Surya, so appointing Chaya in the service of Surya, she herself migrated to the forest and began to observe a penance. Surya mistook Chaya for Sangya and copulated with her. This resulted in the birth of 3 children, 1 more Manu, Shani and Tapati. One day, getting angry for some unknown reason, Chaya, who was in the guise of Sangya, cursed Yama. Only then Surya and Yama came to know about her real identity. Through meditation, Surya saw that the real Sangya was observing penance as a mare in the forest. Surya also arrived in the forest and mated with Sangya in horse form. Their mating resulted in the birth of 2 Ashwini Kumars, Retha, Strav and Revant. Thereafter Surya brought Sangya to his abode where Vishwakarma dulled his radiance. Chaya's son Manu was a sibling of Manu, hence he came to be known as Savrani. During the next Manvantara, Sarvani will rule as Manu. Sutat, Amitabh and Mukhya will be the categories of gods with 20 deities. Ditiman, Galav, Rama, Krip, Ashwathama, Rishasring and my son Veda Vyasa will be among the Sapta Rishis. By the grace of Lord Vishnu, Virochana's son Bali will occupy the throne of Indra. Dakshasarvani will be the 9th Manu. During that Manvantara, Par, Marichagar and Sudharma will be the 3 categories of the gods with 12 deities each. Adbhut will be Indra, Savan, Jyutiman, Bhavya, Vasu, Meghdaditi, Jyotishman and Sata will be among the Saptarishis. Brahma Savrani will be the 10th Manu. During that Manvantara, Sudhama and Vishuddh will be the 2 categories of gods with 100 deities each. Shanti will be the Indra, Havishman, Shukrit, Satya, Tapomurti, Nabhag, Apratam Ujja and Satyaketu will be among the Saptarishis. Dharma Savrani will be the 11th Manu. Vihangam, Kamagam and Nirvatagati will be the categories of gods each with 30 deities. Indra's name will be Vish, Nishwar, Agni Teja, Vayushman, Grihini, Aruni, Havishman and Anang will be among the Saptarishis. Rudraputra Savrani will be the 12th Manu. Ritudhama will be Indra and Hari, Rohit, Sumna, Sukkarama and Surag will be the 5 categories of gods with each 10 deities. Tapasvi, Sutapa, Tapomurti, Taparati, Tapogriha, Tapodhyumti and Tapodhan will be among the Saptarishis. Ruchi will be the 13th Manu. Sukarma and Sudharma will be the categories of the gods, each with 33 deities. Devaspati will be Indra. Nirmoha, Tattva, Gaharihi, Nishaprakam, Nirukshukt, Grihatman, Avyaya and Sutapa will be among the Saptarishis. Bahum will be the 14th Manu. Suchi will be Indra. Chakshusha, Pavitra, Kanishta, Brahjit and Vacharid will be the 5 categories of the gods. Agnibahu, Suchi, Shukra, Magadha, Agnidhara, Yukta and Jit will be among the Saptarishis. With the passing of these 14 Manvantras, a kalpa that comprises of 1000 yugas will come to an end. In Satyuga, Lord Vishnu preaches about the metaphysical knowledge in Kapila's incarnation. In Treta Yuga, he destroys the evildoers and protects the world. In Dwapar Yuga, he divides the Devas, Vedas into 4 divisions. At the end of Kali Yuga, Lord takes Kali incarnation and inspires corrupt people to religious path. Thus Lord Vishnu maintains order in all the 4 yugas and causes the creation, sustenance and ultimately destruction of the universe. Vedavyasa and significance of Brahmagyan. Maitreya says, O Lord, how did God divide Vedas in the form of Vedavyasa during different yugas? Parashar says, during each Dwapar Yuga, in every Kalpa, Lord Vishnu takes incarnation as Vedavyasa. and affects the division of Vedas for the benefit of human beings. During every Dwapara Yuga of the present Vaivasvanta Manvantara, different Vyasas have divided the Vedas 28 times. During the first Dwapara, Brahma himself had divided the Vedas. During the second Dwapara, Prajapati was Vedavyasa. During the third Dwapara, Shukracharya was Vedavyasa. During fourth Dwapara, Brihaspati acted as Vedavyasa. Description of other sages who acted as Vedavyasa during the subsequent Dwapara is as follows. Surya 5th Vedavyasa, Mrityu 6th Vedavyasa, Indra 7th Vedavyasa, Vasishtha 8th Vedavyasa, Saraswati 9th Vedavyasa, Tridhama 10th Vedavyasa, Trishik 11th Vedavyasa, Bharadwaj 12th Vedavyasa, Anaktariksha 13th Vedavyasa, Varani 14th Vedavyasa. Names of next 14 Vedavyasas are as follows. Trayarunam, Dhananjay, Krutanjay, Jay, Bharadwaj, Gautam, Haryatma, Vajrashrava, Tribhindu, Riksha, Valmiki, Shakti, Parashar, Jatukarma, and Krishnadvaipayana. After Krishnadvaipayana, Drona's son Ashwathama will be the next Vedavyasa. Expansion of the branches of Rigveda. At the beginning of creation, Rigveda contained all the 4 Vedas with 100,000 mantras. That Rigveda helped a lot in the propagation of 10 kinds of yajnas. Then during the 28th Dwapar, my son Krishnadvaipayana affected the division of Rigveda in 4 Vedas. At the same time, he also trained 4 of his distinguished disciples in the study of Vedas. Each one of them was interested with the study of one particular Veda for infinite period of time. Accordingly, sage Pali mastered in Rigveda, Vaivashvapayana in Yajurveda, Jaimani in Samaveda, and Sumantu in Atharvana Veda. With the 4 Vedas, practice of Chaturhotra also came into being. Chaturhotra is now the main guiding feature of all kinds of yajnas. Vyasa also established the karmas of Atharvayu by Yajurveda, of Hota by Rigveda, of Udgata by Samaveda, and of Brahma by Atharvana Veda. Sage Pyle divided Rigveda into divisions and taught them to 2 of his disciples, Indra Pramiti and Vashakal. In his turn, Vashakal divided his branch into 4 sub-branches and taught them to his disciples. Indra Pramiti taught his branch of Rigveda to his talented son, sage Mandukya. Thus, branches and sub-branches of Rigveda grew substantially in this tradition. Shakalya Veda Mitra learned a Samhita and divided it into 5 sub-branches. One of his disciples, named Shakupurna, created 3 Samhitas, whereas his another disciple created Nirkuta Grantha. Vashkal created 3 Samhitas and taught them to Kalyani, Garya, and Tatyaja. Description of the branches of Yajurveda. A disciple of Vedavyasa named Vaishnapayan created 27 branches of Yajurveda and taught them to his disciples. He had a simple Yajnavalkya disciple who was the son of Brahmarath. At that time, all the sages together constituted a rule that whoever did not join their group within 7 days on Mahameru would be held as a sinner equal to killing a Brahmin. Only Vaishnapayam had violated that ruling. The curse of the sages did come true when Vaishnapayan killed his sleeping nephew accidentally. Then he asked his disciples to do away with his sin. Yajnavalkya said, Lord, all these Brahmins are extremely dull. I will alone do away with your sin. These boastful words infuriated Vaishnava. He said, "You are insulting these Brahmins so at once, regurgitating whatever I have taught you." Yajnavalkya said, "Lord, I uttered these words out of devotion for you. Still you wish me to regurgitate what you have taught me? Here it is." Saying this, Yajnavalkya omitted all the Shrutis of Yajurveda. Other disciples of Vaishnava pecked them in the form of partridges. Since then, they came to be known as Taittreya Brahmins. Holding his breath, Yajnavalkya then started the worship of the sun with a desire to regain Yajurveda. Pleased by his prayers, Surya appeared before him in horse form and asked him to see a boon. Yajnavalkya created and requested Surya to preach him those Shrutis of Yajurveda which were not known even to his teacher. Vaishnava Surya preached him those Shrutis of Yajurveda which were known as Ayataya. The Brahmins who read these Shruti came to be known as Vaji. Nowadays there are 15 such branches of these Vaji Shrutis which were initially expounded by sage Yajnavalkya. Branches of Samaveda and 18 Puranas. Sage Jaimani, a disciple of Vedavyasa, affected branches of Samaveda. Sage Jaimani had a son, Sumantu. Sumantu in turn had a son, Shukarma. Both of them studied a branch of Samaveda each. Sukarma divided his branch of Samaveda into sub-branches and taught them to his disciples. Kaushalya, Hiranyagarbha and Pashupini. Hiranyanaabha had 500 disciples. Upon receiving the knowledge of Samaveda branch from Hiranyanaabha, these disciples came to be known as Pracheyasamak. Disciples of Pashupini also affected divisions in Samaveda that they received from their teacher. One more disciple of Hiranyanaabha named Kriti taught 24 Samhitas of Samaveda to his disciples. Sage Sumant taught Atharvana Veda to his disciple Kambada. Kambada divided it into two parts and taught them to Devarsha and Patya respectively. A disciple of Patya named Shashnak divided his Samhita into two parts and gave one of them to his disciple Vabhru and another to Saindhav. Saindhav's disciple Munjikesh divided his Samhita into three parts. Presently, 5 Samhitas of Atharvana Veda, namely Nakshara Kalpa, Veda Kalpa, Samhita Kalpa, Angirasa Kalpa and Shanti Kalpa are considered authentic. Still unsatisfied by his achievement, sage Vedavyasa created Purana Samhita and taught them to his famous disciple Romaharshana Sutta. The Samhita that was created by Romaharshana was the base of 3 Samhitas, Akritvarna, Savarani and Shannapayanam, created by Kashyapo Gotriya Brahmins. Vishnu Purana is in a way a summation of these 4 Samhitas. There are in all 18 Puranas. In chronological order, there are all as follows: Brahma Purana, Padma Purana, Vaishnu Purana, Shiva Purana, Bhagavat Purana, Narada Purana, Markandeya Purana, Agni Purana, Bhavishya Purana, Brahma Vairya Purana, Linga Purana, Varaha Purana, Skanda Purana, Vamana Purana, Kumara Purana, Matsya Purana, Garuda Purana and Brahmanda Purana. Yamagita, Maitreya says, Lord, at the end of lifespan, all the people come to be controlled by Yamaraj. When they are all bound to undergo scores of suffering in different kinds of health, kindly narrate about such action by which a human being gets free from the noose of Yamaraj. Parashar says, youngest among the Pandavas, Nakula, had once put the same question before Pitamaha Bhishma. I am narrating what once Bhishma had narrated to Nakul. Before sending Yamaraj, it advises his agents to stay away from the devotee of Lord Krishna. Yamaraj is Lord of all the human beings except Vaishnavas. Only Lord Vishnu is able to control Yamaraj. About the devotee of Lord Vishnu, Yamaraj says, he who does not deviate from his duties even in the severest of crises, who does not steal the wealth of others and kill animals is undoubtedly a devotee of Lord Vishnu. He who bears Lord Vishnu in his heart is a devotee of Lord Vishnu. He who is free from all kinds of ego and illusions and always wishes well for the others with pure and peaceful heart is a devotee of Lord Vishnu. Thus those who always contemplate on Lord Vishnu don't even fear death. Yama, Yamaduta, Yamapasha, Yamagana and even tortures of Yama are unable to hurt them. Duties of four classes of society. Maitreya says, Lord, how should one worship Lord Vishnu? Kindly describe it to me. Parasar says, King Sagra had asked the same thing from sage Aru. I am narrating what sage Aru had preached him. Only those who fulfill their responsibilities and discharge their duties as per their class can worship Lord Vishnu. Those who shun activities like criticizing others, backbiting, womanizing, stealing others' wealth and violence, those who do not torture others and are always ready to serve the gods, Brahmins and teachers are able to please Lord Vishnu. Similarly, one should be able to always conscious regarding his duties as per his class. Accordingly, a Brahmin should carry out yajnas, study scriptures and should not ever try to hurt anybody. A Kshatriya must organize yajnas and study scriptures. He should also make donations to Brahmins and take weapons in order to protect the earth. A Vaishya must earn his livelihood through cattle raiding, commerce and agriculture. Besides, he should also organize yajnas, make donations and study scriptures. A Shudra is expected to earn his livelihood through handicrafts. Saluting learned people is equal to organizing yajna for a Shudra. A Shudra may also make donations and oblations to appease his dead ancestors. In the time of emergency, a Brahmin may shift to the occupations meant for Kshatriya and Vaishya. A Kshatriya may take the occupation of a Vaishya during emergency, but none of them should ever take to the occupation of Shudra. Description of 9 ashramas. Since birth till death, human life passes through different stages. For the purpose of simplicity in following these stages, our sages have made provisions for 4 stages or ashramas in life, namely Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas. Upanayana Sanskara marks the beginning of education for the children born in Brahmin, Kshatriya and Vaishya classes. For this purpose, a disciple must stay in his teacher's hermitage and observe celibacy strictly. There he must serve his teacher and worship Surya and Agni. The disciple is expected never to disobey his teacher. Activities should be according to the teacher's guidelines. He should also make arrangements for the daily worship of his teacher in the way of collecting different materials like Havan Samagri, water, kusha, flowers. After the completion of education and paying all the dues, the disciple is ready to start second stage of his life, that is Grihastha Ashrama. For this he should first find a suitable girl from his class and make merry. During this stage, he should earn his livelihood by occupations ascribed for his class. He should please the gods by yajnas, his ancestors by oblations, Prajapatis by producing children, spectres by offering sacrifices of cereals, and society by love. Even the ascetic and celibates depends upon married people for their daily bread. Hence, married life or grihastha ashrama is stated to be excellent among all the ashramas. A grihastha must welcome and warmly treat the guests who arrive unexpectedly. Such a household from where a guest returns desperately never succeeds in religious matters. All the worship and yajnas offered in such a household go futile. Hence, it is not proper for the householder to show ego and abuse a guest, otherwise, he will have to expiate for it later. A person must always be on alert to recognize the time when it is apt to take vanaprastha. When the children grow and begin to hold the responsibility of the household, one enters the third stage, that is vanaprastha ashrama. So, leaving his wife in the shelter of his children or taking her with him, one should migrate to the forest and live a simple life, sustaining on whatever little is available from the nature. This stage must be passed observing severe penance and restraining one's senses. Sannyasa ashrama is the fourth stage of life. One should give up all activities related to dharma, artha and kama in this stage. He should keep an impartial view for all and cultivate a feeling of love for all the creatures. He should not hurt anybody by his words, actions or even thoughts. He should not stay in a village or a town for more than 5 days. He should sustain his life on alms. Customs and consecrations. At the time of childbirth, it is the father's responsibility to carry out certain customs and consecrations for the child. First of all, jata karma sanskara is carried out, by which the newly born baby is included in the family. During this custom, a Brahmin couple is fed. It is also necessary for the couple that they should sit facing east while feeding. Thereafter, the parents should offer oblations to appease the gods and dead ancestors. Lumps made of barley flour, curd, and berries should be offered as oblations. Similar consecrations are carried out at the time of children's marriage. On the 10th day after the birth, the naming ceremony is carried out. Different castes and religions have different traditions regarding naming the newly born child. It is commonly seen that most of the children are named after the deities and gods. Still, one should see that the name should not be meaningless, abusive, or inauspicious. Practice of selecting exceptionally long and difficult to pronounce names should also be avoided. The second stage in a child's life is when he or she begins education. In ancient times, thread ceremony used to be carried out, and the children were sent to their teacher's hermitage for education. In modern age, thread ceremony is followed more or less in similar ways as it used to be in the past. But children are not sent to Gurukul for education anymore. After completing education, a person should get married and run his own life. In the past, there had been elaborate rituals for the selection of suitable bride. Elders of the house used to select a proper match for the boy. Their choice in most cases depended on many attributes and bodily features of the girl. But in modern age, with increased interaction among the people, it is not possible to follow each and every custom related to selection of bride. Still, one should take care not to marry in his mother's lineage for up to 5th generation and in his father's lineage up to 7th generation. Description of righteousness. A married man knows the importance of following a righteous discourse. Married life is like a penance in which a couple gives birth and raises next generation. A married man is expected to get up early in the morning and contemplate on religious things. It helps him to follow righteous discourse. He is expected to attain nature's call in natural environment away from his house. Soil is considered the best means to wash hands. It should be followed by cleansing of the body. He should then offer oblations wearing fresh clothes to sages, deities, and his dead ancestors. Offering oblations to the sun, worship of tutelary god and other deities follows them. If the household is having some cattle, the head of the family should himself milk them and then wait for the guest. If and when a guest arrives, the head of the family must offer him a seat respectfully and treat him well with delicious food and pleasant talk. In Indian tradition, a guest is regarded equal to a deity. He should take food only after feeding the guest. Evening time has also elaborate rituals for a married man. First of all, after finishing daily course, a married man must worship with peaceful mind. It is also good for his health to take food early in the evening and retire to a wooden bedstead. Night time is considered suitable period for enjoying carnal pleasure. Here too a married man should enjoy intimacy with his wife only. Sanctification after birth and death. Life on earth is like an infinite ocean in which birth appears like a bubble and death marks the bursting of that bubble, after which it exists no more. Atmosphere of a household is said to be defiled with a birth or death occurs in it. There are different sanctifying customs to be carried out on both these occasions. After the birth of a son, the father should offer oblations to please the gods and his ancestors after taking a bath. When a death occurs in household, close relatives should take bath and carry the cadaver adorned with flowers and garlands outside the village or well demarcated cremation ground for cremation. As per the religious tradition of the deceased, the body should either be consigned to the flames or buried. Then the relatives should again take bath in the pond or river facing south and offer watery oblations to the dead person. Since that day, Pindadana should be done for 10 days. On the fourth day of the cremation, ashes should be collected for immersion in holy places of pilgrimage. The person who had carried out the cremation must abstain from intimacy for 13 days. Outsiders are also barred from eating cereals from such a household where a death has occurred. For the different classes of Hindu society, this sanctifying period varies. For Brahmins it is 10 days, for Kshatriyas it is 12 days, for Vaishyas it is 15 days, and for Shudras this period has been fixed for 1 month. On the same day in every subsequent month, oblations should be offered to the dead for 1 year. Days for monthly oblations. A Shraddha carried out with devotion pleases the entire world including human beings. Brahma, Indra, Rudra, Ashwini Kumaras, Surya, Agni, Vashuguna, Marduganas, Vishwadeva, Pitragana, birds, animals, reptiles, sages, and of course the dead ancestors. Moonless and 8th day in the darker phase of every lunar month are considered the best days for offering oblations to the dead ancestors. Apart from these two, 3rd day in the brighter phase of Vaishakha, 9th day in the brighter phase of Kartika, 13th day in the darker phase of Bhadrapada, and Amavasya of Magha are also considered excellent. During lunar and solar eclipses also, oblation should be made with water and sesame seeds. If Shadbhisha nakshatra occurs on Amavasya of Magha, it is considered an excellent conjugation for offering oblations to dead ancestors. Bathing in rivers like Ganga, Satluj, Jamuna, Vipasha, Saraswati, Gomati, Godavari, while making oblations is also said to be extremely benefiting. It is not necessary also to show great pomp and show while making oblations. If one doesn't have enough money to offer oblations properly, he may simply pray the sun, saying that he is not fortunate enough to have wealth. This His ancestors would be pleased by his devotion alone. Method for oblations. While making oblations to the dead ancestors, one should feed his near and dear ones as well as the learned Brahmins who respect their parents. Intimacy with women is barred for those who have taken food in an oblation. Any guest who happens to arrive unexpectedly and uninvited should be treated well. Before feeding, plain cereals should be offered thrice to the fire, reciting remaining cereals then should be served with the food to the Brahmins, and some part should also be cast on earth and water should be offered on them. After the feast, the Brahmins should be seen off with respect. The host should then take food along with his family. Anger over enthusiasm and walking on the street is forbidden for the host during oblation period. Do's and don'ts during oblation. Oblation with flesh of fish, rabbit, mongoose, hog, deer, gram flour and cereals cause extreme satisfaction for the ancestors. But in modern Kali Yuga, all types of flesh are forbidden in oblation rituals. Only cereals, milk, honey are allowed. Offering of oblation in Gaya is said to save all the ancestors. Barley, wheat, rice, sesame seeds, peas and mustard are the common cereals and grains used in oblation. Offering of oblation is a sacred affair. During the procedure, care should be taken that an eonch, chandala, sinner, impostor, patient, cock, dog, a naked person, monkey, pigs, a woman in menses, and anybody in whose house a death or birth has occurred don't see the performer, otherwise neither the deities nor the ancestors would accept the oblation. Water used in oblation should also be free from odor and foam. Milk of camel, sheep, doe and buffalo should not be used in oblation. Before beginning the ritual, drive out the evil spirits from the selected piece of land. It should be cut off from outside influences through enclosures. Battle of gods and demons. Rig, Sama and Ajurveda are like the clothes of Hindu society. Those who give them up are in fact naked. This statement is endorsed by the following tale. Once upon a time, a battle occurred between the demons and the gods. It lasted for 100 years, at the end of which period the demons defeated the gods. The humiliated gods reached Kshirosagra and prayed Lord Vishnu. Pleased by their prayers, Lord Vishnu appeared before the gods. All the gods greeted him and said, O Lord, in sheer violation of Brahma's dictate, formidable demons have kidnapped even our due shares offered in the oblation. Protect us from the onslaught of the demons. We cannot fill them because they abide by their religion. Kindly show us a way to kill the demons. Hearing the pleas of gods, Lord Vishnu produced Maya Moha from his body and giving them to the gods said, Maya Moha will cause illusion in the minds of the demons. The illusion will influence the demons to violate the path shown by the Vedas. You can kill them after that. Saying this, the Lord disappeared. The gods took Maya Moha and reached the abode of the demons. Dialogue of Maya Moha with demons. Maya Moha was produced in a naked form. It reached the bank of Narmada and saw the demons observing penance there. The naked Maya Moha then approached them and said in a sweet voice, O demons, what is the purpose of your penance? The demons said, we are observing penance to achieve the metaphysical world. Maya Moha said, if you long for salvation, do as I suggest. Follow the religion which is like an open gate to salvation. With such sweet talk, Maya Moha began to illuminate the demon's mind. Maya Moha confused them, further saying, O demons, if you long for salvation or a place in the heaven, give up sacrificing animals and attain enlightenment. It is wrong notion to say that violence is the religious path. Offering of oblations in fire is also childish. Even an animal which eats green grass is better than Indra, who is obliged to eat wood despite attaining that position after hundreds of great yajnas. If an animal which is sacrificed in yajna attains heaven, performer of yajna would have killed his own father. Thus, with these witty talks, Maya Moha deviated the demons from the righteous path, because of which they lost interest in Vedas. Once it was achieved, the gods attacked the demons with full preparation. Ultimately, many demons were killed, whereas those who remained came to be known as naked because they no longer followed the teachings of Vedas. Thus, anybody who does not practice the teachings of Veda in his life is known as naked. Those who do not take to vanaprastha or sannyasa after the completion of grihastha ashrama are naked. Tale of Satadhanu. In the ancient times, there was a king named Satadhanu. His queen Shaivya was a righteous and religious woman. The king and the queen had worshipped Lord Vishnu, observing severe penance. On the full moon day in the month of Kartik, when the king and queen came out of Ganges after taking bath, they happened to sight an impostor Brahmin who was coming from the opposite direction. The Brahmin was a friend of the king's teacher, so the king treated the Brahmin with respect. But his chaste wife did not show any respect for the impostor and kept silent all through the talk. She then had a sight of the sun to expiate after the meeting with an impostor. On their return to the palace, the king and the queen worshipped Lord Vishnu with proper rituals. In due course, the king died. The queen also committed sati. Since the king had committed the sin of talking to an impostor during his penance, the king had committed the sin of talking to an impostor during his penance. He took birth in a dog form, whereas Queen Shaivya took birth as the daughter of a Kashi king. She was extremely beautiful and knew everything about her previous birth. When her father decided to marry her off, she requestfully refused, for she knew that her previous birth husband was roaming the streets and lanes of Videha in a dog form. The princess of Kashi then reached Videshi and found out that dog was in fact King Satadhanu. She fed the dog with delicious food, eating which the dog began to wag its tail and show humility before the princess. The princess saluted the dog and narrated the whole thing to it, that it was because of his sin of taking to an imposture during penance that he had to take birth as a dog. Thus reminded by the princess, the dog contemplated for long on the events of his previous birth. He grew so sad that he gave up the dog form on the outskirts of the town. In his next birth, however, he was born as a jackal. Again the princess came to know that the jackal was King Satadhanu and asked him whether he continued to talk to the impostor after their conversation in the previous birth. Only then King Satadhanu came to realize his mistake. He then observed fast till death, but in his next birth he was born as a wolf. Again the princess reminded him of his previous birth. The king became a vulture in his next birth. After that he took birth in crow form and then as a peacock. During that time King Janaka was organizing an Aswamedha Yajna. In the Yajna, the peacock was also given a ceremonial bath by the princess. During the bath, the princess reminded the peacock, King Satadhanu, of his previous birth. The peacock too died and took next birth as the son of King Janaka. It was only after the birth of King Janaka's son that the princess told her father to organize a Swayamvara for her. In the Swayamvara, the prince also arrived. The princess accepted him respectfully as her husband.